Hi, vacation rental owner or manager. If you have a small unit and you want to make as much revenue as possible from it, listen in for my professional design tips and tricks. Hey there, welcome back to Step Up Your STR, the podcast all about specialized decorating so that your vacation rental can earn max revenue. I'm Cara, and I've designed dozens of vacation rentals, all of which charge in the top 10% of their area competitors. Just so you know, this episode is part 2 of decorating for max revenue in your small Airbnb. If you haven't heard part 1 yet, please do listen to that. You can listen to these in either order. You don't have to hear part 1 first, but it's totally worth it because I'm covering different points in each episode. Now, in part 1, we talked about small space layout, styling strategies to help you maximize your rental's function, and the visual appeal, things like choosing the right sized furniture, having rounded corners on your furniture for better flow, vertical storage, color palettes, and there's more in there. So definitely listen to that. But today, part 2 will focus on those finishing layers that give a small STR a boutique high-end feel that guests are willing to pay more for. We're talking light and lots of light, mirrors, flooring, ceilings, and the subtle design moves, some of those subtle things that make a small STR feel expansive and cohesive and Instagram worthy. So let's get into it. First, lighting. If I had to choose one thing that instantly elevates any STR, it's layered lighting. Most hosts rely only on overhead light, like one fixture in the middle of the ceiling, but that's a mistake, especially in a compact space. So here's my go-to rule. Every room should have multiple sources of light, ideally at least 3. So for example, a ceiling fixture and lamps on side tables for reading and a floor lamp. Maybe under cabinet lights in the kitchen, vanity lights plus an overhead light in the bathroom. You can also have sconces as bedside lights, sconces in hallways. There are all kinds of really wonderful ways to add light into your space, and that helps it feel bigger. Layered lighting does add depth. It creates zones like a reading zone versus a sleeping zone. It helps guests feel cozy at night and alert in the morning. Lighting is magical and it feels rich when you have proper lighting, which matters a lot in reviews. Keep in mind, your STR will not look its best if it has dated lighting. So some more tips are to choose warm light bulbs, not yellow, definitely not blue. Aim for 2700K to 3000K. You'll see that on the box of your light bulbs, and that's like the sweet spot for a really pretty color of light. 2700K up to 1000K. Use dimmers also where possible. Nothing says high-end property like soft, flattering light. And I mentioned sconces. Add those plug-in sconces if you're short on wiring. They're really easy to install, stylish, they're easy to find, and they work great in little reading corners or on above nightstands. And coincidentally, I prefer sconces as bedside lighting over lamps because they're hard to break. If you have a lamp and it gets knocked off, especially if it's glass or ceramic, it will break. But if you have a sconce attached to the wall, it's a lot harder to knock that off and break it. Sconces are also different from the masses of bedside lamps that you see in every STR. And if there's any way that you can be unique, a little bit different online, that's a win. You need to stand out over your competition to get clicks and bookings, and all these little decorating tricks really add up for you. Next, mirrors. Mirrors aren't just decorative. They are one of your best tools for expanding a space. A well-placed mirror can double the sense of light, double the feeling of how much space there is, reflect a great view, or make a narrow room feel twice as wide. They are also magical in addition to lighting. So here's how to use mirrors. Place them opposite of windows. So if you have a window like here, like I do, it's good to place a mirror on the opposite wall, and that will reflect natural light, brighten up the space, and extend views. Use large mirrors instead of small ones. A full-length mirror leaning against a wall can visually double a space. Also, avoid overdoing mirrors or doing mirrors in the wrong ways. So don't have more than one per space. Be very, very careful about where you hang a mirror, because the art of the mirror is what it reflects, and you want it to reflect something really attractive. Get your mirrors framed in materials that match or coordinate with your fixtures around your house. So for example, if you have gold hardware on your door knobs and the closet handles, go ahead and put a gold framed mirror in that room. Mirrors also help with selfies and guest photos. Yes, seriously, guests love a space where they can take selfies that photographs well, and mirrors are a part of that visual storytelling for them. All right, so mirrors are definitely your friend in a small space. Next, let's talk about the base layer of your area, and that is the floor. This one is overlooked all the time, but it makes a huge impact in how big or how small a space feels. So small STRs feel even smaller when there's a patchwork of flooring, like laminate in the kitchen, carpet in the living room, tile in the entry, and then a different tile in the bathroom. These visual breaks in a floor definitely make a space feel smaller. So instead, use uniform flooring throughout the entire unit whenever possible. LVP or luxury vinyl plank is a favorite of mine. It's durable, waterproof, easy for a laborer to install, and it comes in beautiful tones that look like wood. It's a good surface. If you cannot afford, or if you are redoing a place and you don't want to use all LVP or all the same flooring in each space, aim to make the flooring a similar color. This also gives the illusion of having one expansive floor instead of visually chopping it up, which visually makes the space smaller. All right, some tips going back to the LVP, some tips for that. Choose a medium to light wood tone. Definitely not gray. That's really out, because wood does not grow gray on a tree. Also, avoid anything red. Avoid orange. Don't go with a dark wood tone. Light or medium toned wood is more classic and versatile. And if you already do have different floors, use a really bold piece of art on the wall. That will draw your guest's eye up and sort of balance here what's going on with the floor. And here's a bonus tip. I often recommend no rugs in small spaces unless they really add something visually, or maybe if your flooring is super cold and uninviting, and a rug could warm it up. But bare, beautiful flooring with furniture on legs looks really luxe and beautiful, more open. It's actually easier to clean. Plus, rugs can be a tripping hazard, especially in a small space, so that's another reason to avoid a rug. But speaking of rugs, yes, they can add coziness. Let's move into the reasons to use a rug. They can add coziness, color, softness underfoot, warmth underfoot. But in small STRs, they're often done wrong. If you decide to use a rug, it needs to be appropriately sized, large enough so at least the front legs of the sofa and chairs sit on the rug. A too small rug, one that's just not big enough for the area, definitely shrinks how the space looks and feels. And it's a really amateur mistake. So if you're on the fence of a bigger versus a smaller rug, I would encourage you to go bigger. However, As I mentioned, in some cases, especially with great looking hard flooring, you can skip the rug entirely and let the space breathe. This is especially true in studio apartments or open plan layouts where a rug can visually chop up the room. We really want to avoid that where the flooring is concerned. So if you do use a rug, go low pile, have it in a performance textile so it's easy to clean. Anchor it under the front, at least the front legs of the furniture. Don't just have it floating out in the middle of the space. And also stick with patterns that feel calm and tonal, not super busy or loud. Okay, let's move on to the power of the ceiling. This one is unexpected, but incredibly effective. Use your ceiling as a design feature. In a small space, your eyes tend to scan horizontally, back and forth, and even down. But if you draw a person's gaze upward, you instantly add volume up the space. Ceilings are sometimes referred to as a fifth wall, and you can use them really strategically. So some options for ceilings include painting it a light complementary color to the walls, such as a pale, beautiful blue ceiling with your beige walls. This adds a lot of interest and also warmth. Also, think about using a peel and stick wallpaper to add texture and some really cool pattern overhead. Even in a studio or a tiny little guest house, this trick of decorating the ceiling gives guests a feeling of elevation, like there's more room than there actually is. Again, this photographs beautifully. A designer ceiling reads as interesting and even luxury in listing photos. Next, use wall desks and built-ins strategically. In a compact space, every square inch needs to earn its keep, and that's where multifunctional wall features come in. Here are a few examples. Fold down wall desks. So these are great for workers or digital nomads, and then when not in use, they fold flat up against the ceiling and stay out of the way. Similarly, a fold down table for eating. These are good if you have a really small space so that guests can just fold down a surface for a dedicated spot for their meals, and then that little surface can be folded up when not used. And here's a bonus tip. If you do decide to use a fold down desk or dining spot, paint that underside the same color as your wall so that it'll just seamlessly blend in when they're pushed back up against the wall. And this will look way better in photos than if you see a rectangle of a different color on one or two of the walls. Another idea is to have floating shelves. So use them as a coffee bar beside the bed instead of a nightstand, or in a bathroom to store guest essentials without bulky furniture. Also consider built-in benches or cubbies to maximize your space, especially in entryways and dining areas. These add character and functioning and keep the floors open. Pro tip, these features also photograph well, typically, so you're not just improving function, you're improving your listings click-through rate also. Next item is to pull furniture away from the walls. This one seems small, but it actually makes a big difference to how a space feels. Don't shove all your furniture against the walls. Even in a small room, have at least a few inches between the wall and your key pieces. It creates some shadow, depth, and the illusion of more space. So pull your sofa 3 to 5 inches out from the wall. Angle a chair slightly inward instead of pushing it into a corner, and leave breathing room between nightstands and the wall if you can. Even a few inches makes a difference. This float technique is one of the easiest and often just not even known ways to make a space feel more airy and designerly. Okay, the final point, create Instagrammable moments. Guests don't want to just sleep in your space. They want to experience it. So create an area where guests will want to snap a photo, whether it's in a reading nook with great light, or a chic coffee corner, or a mirror selfie moment. These won't take up much space, but they add huge value when it comes to social shares, guest reviews, and definitely getting repeat guests. They help your unit stand out from all the others in your area that will feel generic, those others that feel generic and basic. Small units, at least everywhere I've worked, are a dime a dozen. So you need to stand out. And creating an Instagrammable spot is smart marketing. I've created a few podcasts on making your space Instagrammable, and I will link those in the description. So that is it. Those are the strategies I use all the time to help clients elevate their small short-term rentals and command higher nightly rates. Here's a quick recap. Layer your lighting. Have multiple lighting sources. Use mirrors intentionally to bounce light around and extend the space. Keep flooring uniform for flow. Be strategic with rugs or skip them altogether. Look up, so use paint or wallpaper on the ceiling. Use wall-mounted space-saving features like a fold-down desk. Pull furniture a little bit away from the walls and create Instagrammable moments that guests want to share. And most importantly, make your space feel intentional. Every piece should have a purpose and support your brand and visual identity. Every piece should feel like that it belongs, especially when it's in a small space, because every piece matters. If your STR is small, but you want it to feel custom and boutique and be profitable, I can help. I know that this is a very tricky, the design is very, very tricky to get right, especially when it needs to be specialized to earn you money. I would love to help make your rentals stand out for all the right reasons. It's really simple to start. You're welcome to just book a discovery call with me today, and you can find that link to contact me in this description. We can talk through what's possible for your property, and I'd just love to hear about your space and your revenue goals. Before we go, I'm starting a new series where I will look at one of your spaces and make some recommendations to improve it so that you can get more bookings and revenue. If you're interested in getting a service like that from me, do reach out. You can find that contact link also in the description. Thank you for being here. Thanks for listening. And I look forward to talking again next time.